Doctors told me I'd be on medication for life, but I proved them wrong. Here's my story of breaking free and healing naturally. I'm just a regular guy. Back in 2012, I started changing everything. Over the years, I learned how to heal, lose weight, and get my life back. In 2024, I took it all the way. The results have been life-changing. Stick around, I'll show you how I did it. If you've ever been told by a doctor that you're gonna need a prescription forever, then you know how hopeless that can feel. I was there. For years, I believed that the only way for me to move forward was to take a pill every single day just to function. But today, I stand here, or I guess technically sit here, and I'm medication free and healthier than I've ever been. In this video, I'll share the exact journey that I went through, the challenges, the turning points, and the wins that allowed me to break free from meds and take back my health naturally. And just to be clear, this is my personal experience. I am not a doctor and I am not providing medical advice. What I'm sharing is what's worked for me, the steps that I took, and the principles that I applied to reclaim my health. My hope is that by hearing my story, you'll see that change actually is possible, and maybe it sparks an idea or a shift in your own journey. So my journey with pharma and medication started young. I was diagnosed at a very young age with asthma, and so inhalers and medications that went with asthma just kind of became part of my everyday life. Not too much after that came the ADHD diagnosis. And doctors put me on whatever various ADHD medications there were at the time. And once again, much like the asthma, this was a lifelong condition that I was being diagnosed with, something that I was going to need to medicate for my entire life. For years, I carried those labels and the prescriptions that came with them. I'm an asthmatic. I have ADHD. I can't do this because of that, whatever it may have been. So fast forward about 30 to 35 years, and then came the real diagnosis that was the catalyst for the current change. BPH, or enlarged prostate. Suddenly, I was dealing with sleepless nights, constant discomfort, constantly feeling like I had to go to the bathroom. When I went to the bathroom, I wasn't able to fully void myself, or just became an event, right? Every time I was going to the bathroom, it just became an event. Then I went to visit the doctor, and I was prescribed Flomax, and that I would likely need it for the foreseeable future, if not forever. So add to that just general inflammation, joint pain, and just everyday fatigue, and it honestly felt like my body was just beginning to break down right in front of my eyes. And at the time, I was only in my mid-40s. And if you've ever taken Flomax, the side effects of Flomax are something that I'm just not down with, especially when in all my other videos I'm talking about vitality. Vitality is super important for me. That means being able to perform whenever I need to, if you know what I'm saying. That's when something in me just snapped. At that point, I refused to live a life chained to medication. I knew there had to be another way. And that's what drove me to search outside the system, where I eventually found Arnold Ehret's teachings and the principles that would eventually change everything for me. I remember sitting in the doctor's office with that prescription slip for Flomax, feeling somewhat relieved that it wasn't more serious, but at the same time, this feeling of just total despair. Relief that something might actually help, but despair that this was my new reality. That was the emotional roller coaster of medication. They give temporary relief, but no real path to healing. And living on meds comes with its own set of struggles. The side effects can be brutal. Flomax left me dizzy and tired, and another side effect that I don't really want to discuss on camera. Adderall made me wired and anxious, and then left me completely fried at the end of the day. Even the asthma inhalers were giving me the jitters. But worse than the physical side effects was the dependency. I couldn't leave the house without my prescriptions. I couldn't go to the gym without making sure I had my asthma inhaler. These were just normal parts of my life. I couldn't imagine life without them, and therefore I felt trapped. Like my health was being managed, not healed, and definitely not managed by me. That's when I started to ask questions. What if there is another way? I decided to stop being a passive patient and become an active participant in my own healing. I started experimenting with diet. I cut out processed foods completely, I added in whole plant foods, and began fasting to give my body a chance to reset. I detoxed my system completely, and not with gimmicks or some crazy supplement, but with real whole foods, juices, and herbal tea. Hey, if this is hitting home, please hit like and subscribe, and drop a comment. I'm building this channel to share real strategies that work, and your support helps get this message out to more people. And I got sober, quitting alcohol and anything else that might have been clouding my system. And these choices weren't necessarily easy. There were definitely relapses in the realm of diet. Once I quit alcohol, that was it. But as far as diet is concerned, definitely relapses. And especially when you're faced with the headwind coming from your own family on the choices that you're making when it comes to lifestyle, I began to wonder if I was even making the right choice. But every time I slipped, I came back even stronger because I had had that taste now of what real vitality felt like. Even if it was just for a short time, I wanted it back. It makes it easier to maintain the diet when you see the end result that you're going for sure. And once you feel that true vitality, you can't go back to pretending that living with pain, brain fog, fatigue should be normal. It's not. What I realized is that healing isn't a straight line. It's messy, it's uncomfortable, but every time that I would return to fasting and mucusless meals, my body would respond very well. The swelling went down, my energy came back, my mind cleared, and for the first time in my life, I felt like I wasn't just managing symptoms, I was actually removing the obstructions that had been blocking me for years. That's the power of V equals P minus O. Vitality equals power minus obstruction. And every time I made the decision to remove another obstruction, whether it was junk food, alcohol, stress, my vitality would increase. And that wasn't theory. That was my lived experience. And once I understood that principle, it became the foundation for everything I've ever done to heal since. One of the hardest parts of all of this is always the social aspect. Saying no to fast food when it's all around you, picking out the right things at the grocery store when the Oreos are right there, it takes discipline. It takes, gumption. You've got to have some drive to want to achieve results. I turned it into a little game for myself. Every time that I would say no to something that I didn't want, I would tell myself that I'm actually saying yes to my health. So, no, I don't want those Oreos because I want to be healthy. And over time, those small decisions build momentum. They make it easier to say no next time. Once you start this diet and you start reversing the symptoms that you've been experiencing for years, that's when the wins really start stacking up. My BPH symptoms had pretty much completely reversed themselves. No more endless nights getting up every hour to pee, or feeling like I always had to pee during the day, or whenever I had to go pee, I couldn't go pee, or whatever the case may have been. All of that started to go away. Complete and total flow began to happen again. My asthma, which had been a defining factor in my life for decades, began to simply fade away. I started breathing freely and noticing that I could leave the house without even bringing my inhaler. And my ADHD symptoms? Once I cleaned up my diet and removed the stimulants, my focus just began to improve naturally. And the inflammation that once made my joints ache all the time, gone. I was moving, drumming, practicing yoga, living without the constant fire inside my body. But beyond the physical, there were even deeper wins. My energy was stable. My moods leveled out. I wasn't chasing quick highs just to crash hours later. My nervous system calmed down and my mind became sharper and clearer than it had been in years. The best part is that it wasn't from some magical pill, overnight hack, or some stupid fad. It was the cumulative effect of small, consistent changes that removed obstructions from my body. Sleep became very restorative. My creativity came back. I felt present with my family instead of distracted and exhausted. All of a sudden, I had the energy to play the drums for hours, to practice yoga with intention, and just basically be able to fully show up for my life. It turns out that they weren't just health improvements, they were life improvements. Every symptom that once felt permanent was slowly peeling away. And what was left was a better version of myself and more vitality. That's when I knew I was onto something real, and that healing wasn't just a fantasy. It was happening right in front of me, right inside my own body. Now, I do want to re-emphasize something important. This is my journey. I am not a doctor, and again, this is not medical advice. If you're on prescriptions, you should never just stop without guidance. What I'm saying is this: lifestyle changes are powerful. Food, fasting, detox, movement, and sobriety can give your body the space that it needs to heal itself in a way that medications never will. Meds manage symptoms, lifestyle addresses root causes. I'm living proof of that. So that's my story of breaking free from meds. If you've ever felt trapped by prescriptions, please know that there are other paths. It may not be easy and it's not quick, but it's possible. I did it. And if I can do it, you can too. Please drop a comment if you're on your own healing journey, and make sure to subscribe for more ways to take back your health naturally. This is about freedom, energy, and living fully, not under the shadow of a prescription bottle, but with the strength to create your own path.